Hello and welcome back to Arlene Knits and Sews. If you are new here, please join us, subscribe and follow me as I share all my cool patterns that I've made up myself on this channel. They are easy, they're good for beginners, they're good for intermediate, and we will go through some more advanced techniques here on this channel too. Today we are going to be learning how to make a beanie. The beanie that we're going to be learning to make will look like this, with the colors of your choice. The tools you will need to get going are a crochet hook. Mine is a 0.4, sorry, just 4. Some straight needles. I've grabbed some 4.5. You will need a pair of circular needles. These ones are a size 5. They may be a 6, 5 or 6. Wool in the color that you would prefer, a pair of sewing scissors, which you can probably pick up at your local haberdashery shop. To get started, we are going to cast on stitches onto our straight needles. So to recap, we make a circular, a slip knot. You can see how to do that in my very first video, how to knit and how to cast on. Put your first stitch on the straight needles, and I'm going to cast on 20 stitches. Once you have all 20 stitches cast onto your needle, you can go ahead and begin knitting. And you'll keep knitting until this piece fits very comfortably all the way around your head. Without stretching it, just place it around your head and keep going until it fits perfectly, and I'll catch you when we get there. We're about halfway there. Just keep going. Alright, I have my piece and I'm happy with how big it is. It fits my head, so we're now going to cast this off. And when you get all the way down to your last loop, you're going to take it off the needle and this is when you're going to need your crochet hook. And you're going to pop it on the crochet hook. Find the other side. And we're now going to join these two ends together. Okay, so the first thing you are going to note is that this end's a little bit more compact than this end, and that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that you go in on this side stitch for stitch. So count them out if you need to. You should have 20 or more if you wanted to make your band a little thicker. But yeah, so let's go ahead. So I'll go into my first stitch and we're going to pull the wool through the 2 stitches like so. And you're just going to have the 1 stitch left on the crochet hook. Then you go to the next stitch and the one opposite it. Take the wool and pull it through both stitches and then through the back stitch. So you only ever have 1 stitch left on your hook. You go through the next one, through the back one, pull the wool through and through the last stitch. And again, through that one, pull the wool through, pull the wool through. And you're going to keep doing this all the way down to the very end. Okay, we are approaching the end now. The last few stitches here may be a little bit difficult to get into. They may be a little bit tight, but just push your way in and make sure that you're still going stitch for stitch. It's not extremely important in this particular example because this whole thing's going to join together, but in other projects it will be very important because you need these things to line up completely. And once you have your final stitch, you're going to pull it out a little bit so you don't lose it. You can take your crochet hook out and you're going to turn this thing around like this and put your crochet hook back in, and you're going to pick up this stitch over here. I'll show you where now. Okay, so you're going to go in to this stitch over here, over there, and you're going to use your crochet hook and you're going to pull the wool through and make a stitch like that. And you're going to take that stitch and you're going to put them on your circular needle like that. And we're going to carry on doing that with every ridge of the piece. So that would be like, oops, pardon me. So this piece would be like a little dip, and this lumpy part here, I'm going to call that a ridge. So I'm going to follow it all the way to the top, and there it is over there. I'm going to stick my crochet hook in to the top there, and then on the other side at the exact same place, take the wool, pull it through, create a stitch, put that stitch on the circular needles. Find the next one, it's here, and on the other side. Pull the wool through, take that stitch, pop it on the needle, and the next one, that one, and that one. Sorry. Pop it on the needle. You zoom out a little so you can get a better view. apologize for any noisiness. The mic on this phone that I'm using to film at the moment is very, very sensitive, but I will be investing in better equipment so I can do this properly without deafening you every time I put scissors down or a car drives past. And we go on, next one. That was less elegant. Let's try that again. Okay, never mind. Let's go in there and there. This particular wool that I'm using splits very easily. What that means is that these fibers over here, they come apart, and that can make something called a split yarn, which is a problem that I'm having, but don't you worry, we'll carry on. Okay, we'll keep going. Alright, so we're going to grab on the top of the ridges of all of these all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get to the other side. Some awkward silence to enjoy. Who needs to talk, right? We can let my dog fill the silence. He likes to grumble a lot. You may hear that too. Okay, we're about halfway there. We are making this part here, in case that's starting to come together for you. And I'll catch you when we get right to that end. Alright, we just have 2 left to go. Pop those last 2 on, 1 and 2. Alright, now the first trick I want to teach you here is, as you can see, my circular needles are longer than the hat that we're making. So what you can do is go a little bit deeper down this side, because I'm going to be knitting in this direction now. Let's take it. I'm going to be knitting in that direction. So, sorry, that's probably very loud. So you go in a little bit and you bend it, and you're going to pull that out now. Pull them onto your needles like that. Okay. As you knit, this will probably just stretch out and you won't need to keep doing this, but for the first probably 2 or 3 rounds, you will most probably need to go and just pull out a little bit. And the second thing that we're going to do is, as you can see, let me go back in again. My wool is on the wrong side. It should be attached to the stitch here. And it's attached to this stitch, and we're going to be knitting now onto this needle. So I'm literally just going to slip that stitch over, and now the wool is attached to the right stitch, and we can go, and you just knit as normal. So we're just knitting now. Ooh, that was my tummy. Probably heard that. Just knitting a regular stitch. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen when this starts to become a problem in a second. Okay, so I've come back around and I've approached this part now, and I'm going to need to move this over to here. So we literally just bend it a little bit, pull on the plastic part, and pull it all the way out until it fits back onto the needles like so. And then you just keep knitting again. Okay, so I've reached back to the first starting point, and I'm now going to just knit over this ridge here, or little dip. Just keep going. And I'm going to need to pull that little plastic bit out again, but in a few rounds I will be able to just let this stretch the hat out. Okay, and then we keep going. I'll catch you when we get back to this point here again. Okay, so I've just gone past the beginning point for the third time now. Two things I'd like to mention at this point is, the first is that you'll notice there's a bit of an awkward hole here. I'm going to show you when we get to the end how to close that up with this loose piece here. So don't stress about that now, we will get to it. And the second thing, sorry, it's actually three things. A second thing I want to point out is you'll notice now that you're actually knitting a different stitch. And the reason for this is because we're now knitting in the circular, we're going constantly in one direction and we're not swapping backwards and forwards in different directions like you do with straight needles. So what's happening here is you're actually making something called a stockinette stitch, which is where on the one side it's all knit and on the other side it's all pull, as opposed to this, which is called a garter stitch, where you can see in between the two, in between the two stitches, there's your knit stitch and there's your pull stitch, knit, pull. So because we're knitting now all in the same direction, we've got all of our knit stitches on one side and all of our pull stitches on the other side, which creates this really awesome pattern. It gives it this nice sort of two pattern dimension, which is very, very cool. And then the third thing I want to bring up is, now that I've done about 3 rounds, I'm able to pull this out. There's enough elasticity in the hat that I could stretch the stitches all along the circular needles. I no longer have to make a little a loop over here so that I can knit comfortably. So yeah, we're now going to keep knitting for about I would say 15 centimeters, maybe 16 or 17 centimeters. And once I've reached that length, so that'll be, sorry if that's noisy, that'll be about that long there. Once I've reached that length, we'll check back in with you and I'll show you what to do then. Okay, so we've now knitted the correct length for the beanie. It's what you can do at this stage is you can literally just pull it like this on your needles and you can sort of test it on your head and make sure that it is a good size for you. I'm very happy with this length. It's actually a little bit shorter than the length that I recommended, which was about 15 centimeters. This is sitting at 11 centimeters from that point to the end. And when you stop knitting, just make sure that you stop at this point. So as you're going round and round and round, just keep an eye and make sure that you stop and you're aligned exactly there, because it will, if you go a little bit over, it will make a step because you started right here. All right, so now I'm going to show you what to do next. All right, for the next part, we're going to grab our crochet hook and our scissors. And what you're going to do now is cut this, but you're going to cut what's called a long tail. So we're going to cut quite a bit. I'm going to say maybe half a meter. Just cut a little bit off there. And then starting on the side, on the opposite side from where the thread is, we're going to feed it through the stitches through to the end of the needle, all the way to the end. Grab your crochet hook, and you're going to slip the crochet hook through 2 stitches like this, and then you're going to take the end of the wool and you're going to feed it through those 2 stitches like that. And then you're going to pop those stitches off the needle. And you're going to keep doing that 2 stitches at a time. 2, grab the wool, pull it through, and pop it off. Move the stitches up, grab 2, grab the wool, pull the wool through, 2 more stitches, sorry. A little bit further away. Like this, and you're going to go all the way through to the other side. I'll show you what to do when we get there. Okay, I'm approaching the end now. I have 4 stitches left. I'm going to grab them quickly. Sorry. Okay, grabbing them, pulling the wool through, and now I'll show you what to do. So we've got all of our stitches gathered on that line, and what we're going to do is we're just going to pull on this thread here, on this piece of wool. So I'm going to pull it and gather all of these stitches together, pull, 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 pull it until it makes a little scrunched ball at the top like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our crochet hook and we're going to go in through the back, through the little hole, and we're going to pull that thread through, piece of wool through. Pull it through to this side. Turn the beanie inside out. Pull that nice and tight so it closes that hole up. Don't pull too hard because you may snap your wool, and you don't want to do that at this stage because that will be quite annoying. And then you're going to go through to the other end over here, shove your crochet hooks through some of those lines, your crochet hook through some of those lines. Pull the wool through. Don't pull it all the way through, just make like about that much. Say that much. The finger for reference. Cut that line off. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tie a knot here with these two. So tie those two together. Nice and tightly, but again, not too vigorously because you don't want to snap your wool at this point. That'll be quite annoying. Okay, now we're going to work this loose end in. So first what we can do is cut it shorter. And then work this end into these stitches. Like that. Grab that guy. Just make sure that you're not working it into the front stitches as well. So just turn that around and make sure you can't see it. And I can't see it, so that's perfect. And now that's gone. We're going to cover that little hole up now with a pom-pom. I'm going to teach you how to do that. But let's first fix this hole. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this loose end. And we're going to grab from the other end over here. Shove your crochet hook into those stitches. Grab that loose end and pull it through. And then you can do that again on the other end. And just like we did with the top of the hat, oh, that's too far in, sorry guys. Like here should be good. That's the stitch. There should be good. Pull it through, but don't pull it all the way through. So we're going to leave a bit out on this end here, and we're going to tie these two ends together. Trim it off. And work it into the stitches so you don't see it. Okay. Almost there. A little hair on my hat. And pull it out. And now it's gone. And if I turn it around, that hole is no longer visible. Or at least it's not as visible. Okay, we now have a hat. And this is what our beanie looks like at this stage. So At this point, I would say it's fairly unisex. This could be good for a boy or for a girl. But I'm going to put a little pom-pom on the top, and in my opinion, that makes it a little more feminine. That's not to say that dudes wearing pom-poms are not masculine. It's just that, yeah, if you wanted to keep it here, you can do that. Or if you want to take it to the next point and put a little pom-pom at the top, we can do that too. So to make a pom-pom, you can head off to your haberdashery shop again, and you can grab a device that looks like this. If they don't have that, or if you are a bit strapped for cash, you can literally make them yourself. To make your own pom-pom maker, you just grab the cardboard, you'll need a pen, a pair of scissors, and a coffee cup will do. And what you'll do is put your cup down on the cardboard, you'll draw out 2 circles, cut those out, and you will measure the center perfectly with each hole and circle like that. And you can use your knitting needles to just jab a hole in there, but you'll need that hole to be probably about this big. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and use my little pom-pom makers. So they join together. It's like a little bump over there. You can see it's over here. It's a little bump. And then the other one, there's a little hole. Or there's actually bumps and holes in both. So they fit into each other like that. Squish it around until we get there. And they now are together. I'm probably going to take about, I would say, an arm's length of wool, 2 arms, like so much. We're going to cut that off. You actually will need a darning needle for this part. I forgot to mention that, sorry. So make sure if you're making your own pom-pom makers, just make sure that your needle can fit through there, because some of them have very big eyes. All right, and you feed your wool into the eye of the needle. Not all the way through, just enough so that we don't lose this end, the short end. Belly. And then we are going to sew it through the hole, feed it all the way through, and leave a little bit out, like about maybe that much, maybe a bit more, about that much. And now you're going to just keep doing that. Hold on to the long part so you don't lose them. Feed it through, feed it through. And once I've gotten to the end of that piece, we're going to just line it up with the other long piece. We're going to hold them together, and we're going to cut out another long piece of wool and do exactly the same thing. The reason I do it in stages like this and not with one extra long piece of wool is because it gets quite annoying trying to feed that through the whole time. So just doing it in like stages is a little bit easier. I've actually made this one already very long. Okay, and I'm going to grab him with the other long bits, and we're going to feed this piece through now. Okay, so keep going until every part of your pom-pom maker is covered in wool, and you can literally no longer fit this needle through here. It's just too tight. Okay, so I've now done this as many times as I possibly can. I cannot fit the needle through here anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to separate 2 longish ones on either end, like so. This one's quite long. And we're just going to move them a little bit to the one side. And the rest of these long ones, we're going to trim them down to be the same length as the whole ball, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down the center here. We're going to trim, we're going to cut that like so. Taking care not to cut these long pieces. So we're going to use those to attach them, the pom-pom to the hat. Okay, now you can literally just separate this. It will be hard, just go for it. And you're gonna pull them apart. Oh, sorry, before you pull them apart completely, just halfway, like, or just make like a little hole here. And you're gonna take a piece of wool now, and you're gonna secure that middle part. So just cut off a little piece. And put it through the middle. And tie that together very, very tightly. Remembering now that we don't actually need these other bits, but that doesn't matter right now because we're going to use this to attach it to the hat. Okay, so once we've tied a knot in the center here, we can continue to pull this apart. Oh gosh. Okay, and then just adjust your pom-pom so he's nice and centered and everything's like so. Leaving behind two pieces, you can actually cut these ones off now, don't need them, and you can trim any other ones that are not you know, that are sticking out, like for example here, those bits are sticking out a little bit, so we'll just cut them off nicely. And make it nice and even little pom-pom. Okay, now we're going to attach this to our beanie. Grab your crochet hook again. We're going to go in through the bottom, through the wrong side. And we're going to pull both of these threads through the hole, like so. Oh. And we're going to take one thread and pull it through a few stitches on the one side and do the same with the other one. And then we're going to tie them together. A few times. And cut that short. Then feed those ends into some nearby stitches. Okay, we're almost done with this, guys. A little bit fiddly. Okay, that's good. Alrighty, stretch that out, and voila, we have a hat. Do you like my beanie? There's my little pom-pom. It's nice and stretchy, very warm, very woolly. Cool. Please let me know in the comments if there was any point at which you struggled. If there was anything that I rushed through too quickly, or if there's anything you'd like me to cover in more detail, and I will gladly make a video and go exactly through that step by step, break it down. I really don't mind. So if there was any part of this technique, this beanie making technique that you struggled with, just let me know. Put it in the comments and I'll make a video just for you. Cool. We'll see you at the next one, guys.